Welcome to Center Ice Productions. It is May the 9th. It is the day after the hangover day, after the post. It is the post Lotto draft episode where we're going to review things. And this is a funny one because when you look at the order of how everything was, it pretty much didn't change much. However, I mean, I look at a couple of factors. Please hit the likes and subscribes there first and foremost. Trying to grow this, and I want to thank my Hypomania group here that are followers. Thank you all, and yeah, let's grow this thing. Anything good comes, it takes a bit of time to happen. So, good thing he didn't fall to Bedard didn't fall to Anaheim because this team would have been deadly immediately. They've got so much talent in the last few drafts. But with Chicago, they were other than the Habs, they were probably the most needy team of Bedard services. So good for Richardson, who gets to coach this guy. It'll be a nice thing for Richardson, Luke Richardson. However, I do not think as the league runs things, and this shows just how ludicrous Gary Bettman is uh, with all the drama and garbage that happened in Chicago. Chicago should have lost their first round draft choice. So that's number one with all the shenanigans that happened there. So, and also there's, this was also a classic case. Once they were spotted, um, deliberately trying to tank, again, to me, that does deserve uh, a penalization as well. When you unload guys like DeBrincat and Doc, that was a clear message that they were deliberately going to tank. And then Kane. To me, they should have been penalized. So I don't think they should have got it, but they did. They're, although it's going to help them a lot. Could have been more dangerous in Anaheim, that's for sure. We could have used them, but anyway, the draft pretty much went the way we thought it was going to go. There was no draft. I was just content, depressed. Yeah, not depressed, but disappointed that we didn't move up a couple spots, but glad we didn't fall a couple spots. So we stayed put right where we were at fifth pick. It's going to be an interesting spot to pick from. Really, I think Kent Hughes has got his work cut out for him because you listen to a couple, like I was watching Tony Marinero show, and it was a very good one last night. He had three of the top scouting firms in the NHL, each voice their opinions of this draft and of possible trades for the Habs. And I was kind of glad because it verified everything I have been saying on my episodes. These guys kind of confirmed what I said. Pierre-Luc Dubois, for all you um, those folks who are in Quebec pushing for this trade, and certain podcasts, again, stop, stop. This is an inconsistent hockey player. They were in total agreement that he would not be worth they would not trade this fifth round pick for Pierre Luc Dubois. And they wouldn't make that trade because he's too expensive and he's inconsistent. So get over your tongue issues. Please, those who are backing this, it's wrong. You're not looking at the health of the Montreal Canadiens. You're looking at the almighty tongue. And he's got major, major inconsistencies to his game. How was he, may I ask, for Winnipeg this year in the playoffs? I think that answers the question. I didn't even notice him. Thank you. So that's Pierre-Luc Dubois and Lafreniere. He played the half decently, but nowhere near the player he was boasted to being. So let's get clear of that. All three of these experts in charge of scouting companies, Redline, Grant McKegg, um, Snake, Bovair, all agreed it would be a huge mistake to make these trades. These guys are way overrated. Stick with what we got, go the direction we're going, put the money in better places. And that was kind of what I've been saying all along. And I'm kind of glad to get the confirmation because it just shows me we're more sensible in our thinking patterns. We're thinking about the organization. We're not thinking about politics. Okay? Let's get rid of the politics. Okay? Number one. Now, so here's how the draft order fell. Hate to say it. It went to Chicago, got Bedard. Then Anaheim got number 2, which will probably go with Fantilli. Then the Blue Jackets at 3. Sharks at 4. Habs at 5. Arizona got 6. Flyers went at 7. Capitals got 8th. Detroit got 9. St. Louis got 10. Vancouver got 11. Ottawa got 12. Buffalo at 13. Pittsburgh at 14. Nashville at 15. And Calgary at 16. And that's as far as I went with it because those were more so what was involved in the chances for the lotto aspect of things. So we fell, yeah, I know. I feel like Tony too. I was kind of wishing for more. So it was kind of a heartbreaker. But at the same token, the one blessing I felt was I'd rather stay put where we are. I was really fearful that we might fall to 6 or 7. Anyhow, with that being said, so I just came up with the information you wanted on the trade aspects of what Montreal should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. Those three experts backed what I was saying all along. Those 2 trades would be horrendous for us. It would be a huge mistake. We got too much talent in what we have to even waste our time on a trade like that, and especially when it's going to be a costly contract. No, I don't want somebody who doesn't show up in the playoffs. No, thank you. So, with that being said, what happens? Kent Hughes addressed this. I watched his address, and he made it quite clear. And I don't think anybody's shocked by what he said. They will make the best decision to get the best player possible at that position. Does that mean there are, everybody's kind of, I know, I mean, I'm looking at it if Mitchkov, I'm a fan of Mitchkov. There are people that aren't. They're too scared of the risk factor. And I understand it. It makes sense. I guess I'm a little more gambly on this one. I'm still for the Mitchkov thing, although I do not think Montreal will go Mitchkov because I do think he's going to fall in the draft. By far, it was clear that I understood why this was my thought all along. Mitchkov is the closest thing to Bedard's talent level, and he's right on his heels. Problem becomes this KHL contract, whether he will come over. That's where the trouble lies. Also, with this war and how Russia has been talking to their players. That's where the trouble comes in. That's why he will drop in the draft. We all know it. For me, I guess, I'm going to have to disagree with some people. I'm still, hey, uh, I know he hasn't been seen in most international things, but when you're compared to Harlamov, wow, to me that's huge. I remember Harlamov, and if he's compared to that type of talent, that's why I want him. So, in that being said, Hughes didn't really say yes or no to that, which you didn't expect him. He holds his cards close to his chest, and I do think him and Gordon are going to make the ball. They're going to make a splash. There's no doubt. My personal view is they won't go to Michikov because of this, which for me it's hard to swallow because I would love to have him even with the risk because Montreal's not going to be ready for at least 3 years, so it would follow his contract when it's coming up to terminate, to the end time. So for me, I would do it. Not everybody's going to agree, but I think when I listened to all 3 of those experts last night of scouting firms, they were in agreement. Minchikov is that much farther ahead of the rest, and this is even to Fantilli. So Fantilli seems to be, from what they're saying, a bit of a drop off from Michnikov. It shouldn't be the only reason Fantilli will go second is because the Russian Michnikov political issues. That's why Fantilli and I do think Michkov is going to fall farther. I have a funny suspicion Michkov falls from 8th downward because too many teams are going to fear that problem. But that being said, we know Fantilli is probably going to Anaheim. He'll be in that position. So, with that being said, who knows where the chips are going to fall now? Now, at least we know where we stand. For me, I think We know that I look at this, the list of those players, and the most talk for Montreal Rumorville has been no Anderson, but we've heard a lot on Will Smith. That's my suspicion who they're gonna if he falls to fifth. He might be swept up sooner. If he falls to fifth, I think with Hughes's relationship with him, having experienced him, the Habs will grab Will Smith. That's my opinion. The other thing, the next guy, it's this rimbacker from the same hockey U.S. program, that defenseman. I don't want us to do this. And I get a fear that they're close to him as well. Hughes with this U.S. hockey program. We seem to be getting a lot of that, more so. It tends to seem to be looking like that, and the Slovak move that we are hear rumors of. Because to me, Devos, what's his name? Dalber Devosky is the other one that's rumored a lot. So it seems to be between those two that I do think Kent Hughes is going to go for. I don't really want Devosky either. Uh, hmm. I know he's in the Slovak program. I just think there's players above this guy that are too valuable. I think like Robert Leonard, if we had a chance at him, why not? He seems to have a good write off. And my guy after Michnikov, if we don't get Michkov, which I think we're going to avoid, I want Carlson so bad. Leo Carlson, to me, to be compared with Barkov, what more could you ask for? This is the guy I'm after Michkov. If we don't go Michkov, which I don't think we will, I'd love to see Carlson, but I have a feeling he's going to go before we get him. I should crack at him. I just think he's going to be in the top three. I'm kind of thinking it's going to be, well, we know where Bedard's going, then Tilly will go two, and I get a feeling that Carlson will go three. And then I almost think that Will Smith will go four or five. So that being said, then we got Zach Benson, who's linked to the Habs as well. That's not a bad pick as well. Uh, so for me, I'm kind of leading. Somehow, if Carlson gets through this to five, I'd take him. That's just been my guy. I've said this from last draft that this was the guy I had my eye on was Leo Carlson. I've liked this game since then. I honestly didn't think that Bedard we would land on us after getting the first round pick last year and Pintilli. I know he's a great write up and everything, and he's blasted it in the juniors. But what I seen in the Canada World Cup, the World Hockey Tournament there, I wasn't overly impressed with Fantilli. Tilly, to me, he didn't show up. That alone is when the big moments are there bothers me. So I was on Carlson's bandwagon from the get go, and this is who I hope for next to Mitchkov. So those are my leaders. Somehow I think we're leaning more towards Will Smith and Dvorsky is what I hear the most of, and this Dave Rambecker, which I hope we stay clear of. We don't need our defense messed with right now. We can do other things right now. So that being said, here we go. We're also going to discuss real briefly, talking about so many networks or podcasts are so backing, puffing up Lane Hudson. Well, these three individuals seen things my way as well. Lane Hudson, it's great that he's putting up these. Nothing against the kid. I like the kid. He's got a good personality, and he looked all right. But the same fears I had. It's his health condition. You have no idea if he can gain the size. Secondly, I didn't know this because the U.S. hockey program puffed him up so much, and a lot of these smaller podcasts are pumping him up as well. And the odd reporter we won't name that are coming out of Montreal really pumped up Layden Hudson's game, and it was nice to see these guys who are running scouting programs who kind of been there a long time, 30 years plus experience each of them, that type of thing, been at it a while, and they all said the same thing. Why would Montreal even risk? And I agree with this. I've been saying this in my last episodes continually. We don't go near touching Jacky. We don't go near touching Harris. We know that Cooley's a shoe-in. We don't. Kasevich is even that good, and I even say Barron is. Whereas the guys that are in Montreal, he's the most touchable. But at the same token, since he's on one of the few on the right side, give him that time. Maybe somebody can work with him, and maybe he becomes a McAvoy. Let's hope. Give him a little more time. And I would rather that all of those guys that played in Montreal be left alone and be left to no, we're not messing with that core. That core with some growth, I think is going to be fine. If anything, the only thing we need to unload is Joel Edmonston and Weidman. And, even in a worst case scenario, if somebody's so interested in Savard, although I like him and I think he's one of the vets that should stay, but if somebody's so interested, you almost got to pull the plug because these kids, I think, are the future. And as much as I like Savard to be one of the leaders, if there is an offer out there, you got to go with it. Although, like I said, Edmonton's got to go long before him. But I just don't know if Edmonton has any interest. I think for him, we're stuck with him until trade deadline. But hey, if we can pull off one, why not? So my fear is I do expect a big splash because that unfortunately Toronto was playing so horrifically against Florida, and to me, that coach should be shot. How he treats his superstars to the rest of his players is ridiculous. You're supposed to treat everybody the same. And watching, Matthews' game, Matthews has not played good hockey whatsoever. And sorry to say it, and Mariner hasn't looked good. This is why Toronto is losing. These guys cannot step up in the big moments. And Nylander is another one. They're not big moment guys, and it's a sad thing because Tavares is the guy who got them through the first round. And nice addition of Ryan O'Reilly, those type of guys. But it's not enough to get by the hungry Florida Panthers, and they're not going to come back to beating Florida. 3 games down, this team doesn't have the heart. And those key four, other than Tavares out of that 4-pack, is the only guy that has heart. The other 3, to me, they're a joke. They're what's killing you. And I honestly think you better unload 1 or 2 of them and start putting money elsewhere because your back end is still lacking. And you need a real goaltender still. I just don't think Samsonov's the guy, and I don't think you have anything in the net that's your guy to get you over the hump. And it's a shame because you're going to miss out. This was Toronto's year when you've seen the way the rest of the big teams got knocked off. There's nobody better on paper than Toronto. So Dubas smacking ahead. Although I'll give him credit for this year. He put in better pieces that O'Keefe should have been able to. That roster is pretty solid, and he should have been able to coach them to a cup. He's not good enough of a coach, so he needs to go. To me, Dubas needs to go too because it's only 1 year out of the 4 years that they made the right moves. That being said, for the Habs, like I said, I've heard the rumors of the Jack guys, the Andersons, the Harrises. These guys should not be on the trading block. I'm sorry, the confirmation of these professionals confirmed what I thought. If you're going to trade somebody, use Lane Hudson now while he's at his most valuable point, because from here on in, that's great. His numbers are great in the U.S. program right now. Wait till he has to meet the rest of the world at his size, and to find out, because it was only the U.S. hockey program that's pumping him, and some of our small podcasts and odd reporters that are really pumping this kid's tires. What's he going to do when he faces the rest of the juniors? What's he going to do when he gets to the pro hockey level? That's not going to stay. It's not going to be sustainable for him. Not whatsoever. And then come to find out when you listen to these, and I take these 3 guys I have a lot of respect for them. Red Line Scouting and Grant McKegg and Snake Bavere. I have a lot of respect for these guys. They tend to have some pretty good sights on thing. And I mean, I'm in an agreement with Bavair that um Quentin Musty is the dark horse. I totally agree with that comment from Snake. You guys can shoot down Snake all you want. I'm in total agreement that this kid could be the dark horse for the later, or for the second pick that we have. Although I think what's happened is because Florida's doing so good, it's tailing out. So the Habs might want to make a trade to move up, and that might be a thing of do you get your fifth and that Florida pick to move up to like let's say third positioning in that range. Do you do that? Hard to know. So I do expect a splash. I would rather us just go. I would rather us leave that fifth alone. Uh, just go for um, yeah. If we did make that move, I just want to see us make another splash and try to get a pick, another first round pick around the 17 mark. That's what I'd like to see, and I do think they're up to something. I just pray to God it's not the Jack Guy thing because this has been the best thing that's happened to us. And I think Harris is way too talented as well. If you're going to do a trade, I agree with these experts who are agreeing with what I've been saying all along. You unload Hudson while he's worth something because, like I've been saying, yes, we've got some good picks from the Bergevin era, but I think we're getting the tires are getting popped up a little too much. The only guy I see other than Olanen, if I'm saying his name properly, and Harvey Pinard is Waugh. And I take some of the notes that these guys mentioned. The problem with Waugh is his skating. Will he be able to? He's got everything else, but he's got to bring his skating up. Will it get him to a third line? Ray, because I don't. If he could work on that skating, he could go be in a second line situation, but he's got to work on the skating. And other than that, I don't really see other than Beck. Beck's going to be a solid checking line center, no doubt in my mind. But Himonen, that guy is no doubt. What he's done in Laval, and he would have been with us this year if he hadn't got injured after training camp. He was phenomenal, and I knew he was going to be. This kid's going to be second line material. He'll be with Doc and Anderson, probably something of that nature of a second line, and that's going to be a good line if we can get consistency from Anderson. That being said, so we go from there, and so I really am backing. I hope we do make a splash that doesn't kill us. I would rather see us just unload Hudson, and the same thing with Stubble. If you have to, these are youngsters. I would go with them being moved out. I would not touch the guys that are in our system already because Stubble, as gritty as he is, he's kind of almost the same idea as Harris, maybe a little grittier, but Harris has more talent. So you got to stick with what we got there. That's my opinion on that. And I say to Bettman, get over yourself. Let this kid go to Laval and let him open up. Look at his age. The way it's going right now, I love this kid's talent, but he needs a year in Laval. But also, we need Bettman to lift that stupid suspension. It's ridiculous. But yet, he allows this thing in Chicago with the pedophilia go on. But a kid that made a mistake here in Montreal and is nowhere near the comparison of pedophilia. Wake the hell up, Bettman, and get over yourself. So, that being said, I hope he doesn't destroy this kid's career because, we're running into this kid turning about getting close to 21. We may never see Mayu hit the ice because of this grudgmental uh, president of the National Hockey League who needs to get over himself. Enough is enough. Why didn't you discipline the Chicago organization for pedophilia the way you should have? Yeah, shake my head. What type of man are you? You're not a man, you're a mouse. Anyhow, that being said, sorry, I got a little emotional there because this has been boiling my blood. Anyhow, and then also now with, like I said, the confirmation of what I've been saying. Montreal's loaded with a lot of young talent that are third and fourth liners at best. We don't even know if Nassar is going to. He didn't have that great of a year. Is he going to be? I think he will boost up, but I don't think, I think people are overblowing like the Sean Farrells and stuff. Farrell, I don't even think he's going to be an NHLer. I think he's a Charles Houdon. So, Habs fans, get over ourselves. We do have a lot of prospects, but what caliber are our prospects? Kind of blown, we got a lot of people blowing the tires up that they're so good. I don't think they're to the level that you think they're at. We have a few, but I think the majority are AHLers. I'll be quite frank with you. I think the majority are AHLers, and I don't think, at best, some of them may get to the third, fourth line. They will never surmount to first and second liners. Now, the Olonins, there's a possibility. The Harvey Pinard, that's a possibility. That's a little different. They've already shown signs in Montreal. But I even think as time goes, like the Himonen, that's a second liner. It was just such a shame that he had to get injured after in training camp. Just a shame. But we got a good, bright future. But I'm just so fearful. I don't want us to get caught into getting too much stuck to the American hockey program or the Dvorsky thing because he's from Slovak, like Slavkowski. So I'm just a little fearful of that. I wouldn't mind our second round pick being for somebody like Quentin Musty. Although I would also be on board for trading that and getting something higher up in the draft. Um, and looking at that prospect of it. And I really do think we should more so try to get a third first rounder and really make a splash with the goaltending situation. That was the one thing I didn't hear a lot spoken of. They didn't really say there was a goalie. Uh, I think we got to focus on it. That's the only area I'm in a disagreement. I think we got to go for this Bjarnason or Perugel. I think it's time that we focus on a number one goaltender and use like the lowest of the first rounders to nab up a goaltender. That's my theory, and I want to thank you because that nothing really changed, guys. I know disappointment was there. Sorry, I felt the same way. I was devastated, but I also looked at it and said, okay, worst case scenario, we didn't go down, and that's a bonus. Could have went the other way that way too. So anyway, wanted to review that. That's where we're reviewed. So it's going to be really interesting. We're going to have to watch this closely because I do think Montreal will be up to doing something. I do think Hughes and Gordon are too intelligent. I just hope they stay clear of the Dubois and the Lafreniere thing because these guys are underage. Lafreniere was just overrated. That's the league scouting system that overrated him. So that's the mistake there, not the kid's fault. Dubois is overrated. Way overrated. This is a guy who does not, he is an underachiever. He was supposed to be better, touted to be better, and he is underachieved. He's an Anderson type, but way too expensive. So let's stay clear of that and let's go for better stuff. Let's go after maybe somewhere higher up in the draft, or just sticking to the fifth and getting a third one that's kind of mid-range. That would be my theory. To do one or the other. Either you move up so that you can like link up a Carlson, or you go the route of just getting a third one so you can grab a little bit more out of it. And you can guarantee yourself a goaltender with your last pick because it looks like Florida could be going all the way. That team's rolling. And wow, Kachuk and Barkov, what leaders. And that's why I want Carlson when he's compared to a Barkov. I'd love to have that kid in Montreal. So thank you for joining me. I just wanted to hit those things, and I wanted to nail some of the people that are touting wheels that will hurt our movement. So where does the puck drop first? Here at Center Ice. Don't forget it. Please hit the likes and subscribes. Tell your friends about it, and let's make this movement bigger. And well, all I can say till the next episode, watching things closely until the draft. So, God bless you. Take care.